VH1, where music means more than videos. Legends is presented by AT&T. It's all within your reach.
In the 1970s, Led Zeppelin was probably the biggest rock band in the world, and one of the most mysterious. Zeppelin's music was exotic, slightly menacing. The band rarely did interviews. They kept their distance from the music business. The critics didn't like them, but the audience sure did. Zeppelin made millions of fans and changed rock forever, but they paid a terrible price. Led Zeppelin are legends. This is their story.
One of the greatest rock and roll bands in the world.
In actual fact, each album is very different.
There was just nothing like us at the time.
It was tripping the light fantastic.
Good times, bad times, you know I've had my share. When my woman left home for a brown-eyed man, but I still don't seem to care.
Jimmy Page was born in 1944 and grew up in a suburb of London near Heathrow Airport. He took up guitar after hearing an Elvis Presley record. Like many young Britons, he got swept up in the skiffle craze of the late 50s.
Well, mama don't allow no skiffle down here. Oh, no, she don't. Mama don't allow no skiffle down in here. Well, we don't care what mama don't allow. Gotta play that skiffle any old how. Mama don't allow no skiffle down in here.
Now then, you're called what?
JG Skiffle Group.
And you come from?
Epsom.
What are your two names? Yours is?
James Page and
David House. Both from Epsom. Well, what are you going to do when you leave school? Take up skiffle?
No, I want to do, well, biological research.
Do you? I knew that already. In fact, what do you mean by biological?
Well, cancer, if it isn't discovered by them.
Page went to art school, but soon realized that music was his true calling. He started jamming at various clubs around London. Word got around, and by the age of 20, Page was a top session guitarist, recording with the likes of The Who, The Kinks, and Them. By mid-1966, Page had his fill of session work. He accepted an invitation to join the Yardbirds on bass. The Yardbirds had begun as an electric blues band, featuring a brilliant young guitarist named Eric Clapton. When the group went pop, Clapton left and was replaced by another guitar virtuoso, Jeff Beck. Before long, Page moved from bass to guitar.
I started on the bass just to help them out, and then we got into the dual lead guitars, and it was fantastic.
Jeff Beck had ambitions beyond the Yardbirds. He put together a session featuring Jimmy Page, a studio musician named John Paul Jones, and Who drummer Keith Moon. It sounded great, and the musicians talked about forming a new band. Moon joked that if they did, they should call the group Led Zeppelin because it would go over like a lead balloon. In late 1966, Jeff Beck quit the Yardbirds, leaving Jimmy Page by himself in the lead guitar spotlight.
When Jeff left, and we carried on, well, the pure nature of the band, they had numbers that, you know, you could really stretch out in. And during the time that I was in there, it's just the guitar, then it was a four-piece.
Around this time, the Yardbirds acquired a new manager. His name was Peter Grant. And before he took control of the group, he received a cautionary warning from their outgoing manager.
Peter, he said, there's only one big problem with the band. There's a guy in it who's a real smart ass, a real wise guy. I said, oh, really? Who's that? He said, Jimmy Page. So I said, oh, I see. And I sort of ripped past. I thought, he must know I know Jimmy since 1962, 63. So when I met with the Yardbirds, I said to Jimmy, I hear you're a troublemaker and a pain. I've got to get rid of you. What have you been up to? Peter Grant was an imposing figure, a former pro wrestler who had grown up in the streets. Nobody crossed him twice. He had previously worked as UK tour manager for acts like the Everly Brothers. Grant saw all the ways musicians were ripped off by promoters, agents, and record companies. He was not going to let it happen to his boys. Grant and Page saw eye to eye from day one.
In 1967, the Yardbirds were performing the trippy I'm Confused, a variation of a song called Dazed and Confused from an album by Jake Holmes. Page produced eerie sounds by trailing a violin bow across his guitar strings. It would become the song's trademark. Page had breathed new life into the Yardbirds, but the original members were tired, disillusioned, and feeling that their best days were behind them. The other Yardbirds quit in the summer of 1968. Grant got them to sign ownership of the Yardbirds' name over to Jimmy Page.
And there was a big row, and I sat down and drafted the thing out, and that's when they signed the name of the Yardbirds over to Jimmy Page.
And I know, well, if she had me back again, well, I would never make her sad. I've got a heart full of soul.
I just really wanted to carry on rocking, you know. I had this great, you know, stockpile of, material in my mind, and sort of songs and riffs that I'd got written down on tape at the time. So it was really handy, yeah. I knew what way I wanted the group to go as well, if I could get a group together. Fortunately, I did.
Jimmy Page and Peter Grant looked at what was happening in British rock. It was the year of the power trio, Cream, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. The Jeff Beck Group and The Who were guitar trios fronted by good-looking blonde singers. Page went looking for a charismatic frontman. He heard about a kid from the country called Robert Plant.
I was playing at a teacher's training college in Birmingham, and I had a telegram saying that the guitarist from the Yardbirds wanted to come and see me. I thought somebody was pulling my leg.
When Page first heard Plant perform, he saw a 19-year-old kid with flowing blonde hair and incredible bravado. He found Plant's vocal range unbelievable. But Page figured that Robert must have a rotten personality. Why else was he not already successful? Soon Page got to know Plant and found him charming and witty. He knew he had hit the jackpot.
Jimmy had traveled America, and he was somewhat of a star, so I was walking into somebody's home who'd been around and was that much older than me and had an American woman there, scantily dressed and gorgeous. And there I am with an old battered suitcase going, "What-o, mate?"
Plant urged Page to check out his pal and teenage bandmate John Bonham. There was no drummer like him.
Jimmy rang me up and said, like, I thought, this is unusual. Jimmy calling me, spending money on the call. I said, I saw a drummer, heard a drummer last night. He said, he's so unbelievable, we just got to get him. And that was John Bonham.
The son of a carpenter, John Bonham was born in 1948 and grew up near Robert Plant. His mother bought him his first drum at the age of 10. As a teenager, he knew the meaning of hard work. He also knew that playing the drums was the only thing he was really good at. Bonham had worked construction, building up enormous strength that he loaded into his drum playing. Offstage, he was a hard-drinking, hard-living wild man. His outrageous antics would earn him the nickname Bonzo. His explosive drumming would set a new standard for rock and roll.
My wife happened to see an item in Disc magazine which said that Jimmy Page was forming a band. And she says, "You're going mad doing all these sessions, like, call him up, see if he needs a bass player."
John Paul Jones was born John Baldwin to a musical family in 1946. As a teenager, he fell under the influence of jazz bassist Charles Mingus. By 1965, he was one of the top session bassists and arrangers in London. The records he arranged for Herman's Hermits sold 12 million copies. He just had a big international hit playing on Donovan's Hurdy-Gurdy Man.
First time we ever played together was in a tiny room in Gerrard Street. When I turned up and got the address, and they said, we all looked at each other and said, "Well, what should we play?" So I said, "Well, what do you know?" I said, "Well, I don't know anything, you know, I'm doing sessions all day." I don't know. So they said, "Well, we do a number with the Yardbirds called The Train Kept Rolling." I said, "Great, how does it go?" "Oh, well, it sort of starts in this and it goes there." "All right." So 3, 4, and literally the room just exploded. It was like the most thrilling thing ever.
Page and Jones, the two studio pros, jammed for several weeks at Jimmy's home with Plant and Bonham, the kids from the Sticks. It was an unusual marriage of innocence and experience. Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, and manager Peter Grant were ambitious professionals who saw an opening and were ready to do whatever it took to win. Plant and Bonham were boys from the North Country, excited to be along for the ride. Page, Plant, Jones, and Bonham embarked on a short tour of Scandinavia as the new Yardbirds. The power these four created on stage was beyond anything the Yardbirds had approached. By the time they returned to England, they had a new name. They were Led Zeppelin.
Hey, yeah, I got something you ought to know.
Do you know how to use a phone? Can you dial 1-888-VOTE-VH1? Can you pronounce any of these names? If you answered yes to these questions, then you have the necessary skills to make music history by choosing VH1's Artist of the Year. Call and vote right now for your favorite. Whitney Houston, The Artist, Jewel, The Wallflowers, Bee Gees, Paul McCartney, and Vogue, John Bon Jovi, Elton John, Fleetwood Mac, The Rolling Stones, Mariah Carey. Just pick up your phone and push these buttons. 1-888-VOTE-VH1. Bad spellers call 1-888-8683-841. Either way, AT&T pays for the call. Ballots available at Foot Action or vote online. If you win, you and 3 friends will meet the new VH1 Artist of the Year. See them in concert, and you'll get $5,000. Thousands of runners-up win tons of great stuff. Plus, all this weekend, VH1 puts the nominees' music first. VH1's Artist of the Year sweepstakes. They win because they're superstars in their prime. You win because you can use a phone. Sponsored by AT&T.
The AT&T one-rate plan has made long-distance prices simple. Whoa. Calls from home, a one-low rate to anybody in America, anytime.
What about those 10-3-2-1 ads that say I can save big over AT&T?
Most calls would cost less with AT&T one rate.
Cost less?
That's right.
I feel so used.
Hey, don't beat yourself up.
What about the big savings with 10-3-2-1?
Forget it if your calls aren't over 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
He's taking it really bad. No games. The AT&T one-rate plan.
Can't seem to forget you. From the first time I ever met you, I can't seem to forget you. Your wind song stays on my mind.
Windsong Perfume by Prince Machiavelli.
Happy holidays, Dave.
Same to you, Red.
I think you'll find this spicy chicken sandwich spicier than yours.
Not bad. But remember this?
Wendy's spicy chicken is seasoned with Dave's own blend of pepper and spices for that spicy hit you crave.
So?
So you got any more in the bag?
Maybe. Yeah. All right.
Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich. It can warm up anybody.
Say, hey, jingle bells, jingle.
Oh man, just a sandwich? I almost left my soup on the bus.
Nothing turns an ordinary sandwich into a satisfying meal like the taste of rich, wholesome Campbell's soup.
Hey, is that my soup?
No, your mother gave you chicken noodle soup.
Oh.
My mother gave me tomato.
Hey, here we go again.
Campbell's makes everything.
Change is in the wind. A change so sweeping, you might not even recognize us. Created for years of worry-free driving and protected by a warranty package that's one of the most comprehensive in the industry. Is this a new car company? No. It's a whole new Hyundai.
Freedom is not given, but there are moments when it must be taken.
They were first detained off the coast of Long Island to charge us murder.
This is the most important case ever come before this court, because what it concerns is freedom, the very nature of man.
Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, Jaimin Hunsu, Matthew McConaughey, a Steven Spielberg film. Amistad, rated R, starts December 10th in select theaters and December 12th everywhere.
The newborn Led Zeppelin's strategy was to build a reputation by intensive touring. In October of 1968, they headed into the studio to capture their live show on record. Their debut album was recorded in just 3 weeks. Most of the songs were intense and bluesy, like the stuff Jimmy had played with the Yardbirds. But there were also unusual choices, like the Indian-influenced Black Mountain Side and a song popularized by Joan Baez, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. The sound was something new, an incredibly dynamic hard rock. Later it would be called heavy metal, but Zeppelin was always bigger than that. The group played in England while their manager, Peter Grant, headed off to the States to secure a record deal. CBS, the Yardbirds label, claimed they had the rights to the band, but Grant outmaneuvered them. Jimmy Page had never signed the Yardbirds recording contract. Grant wanted Zeppelin to be on Atlantic, home of Cream and Aretha Franklin. Grant returned with one of the most lucrative deals ever negotiated for an unknown band. Atlantic Records had signed Led Zeppelin, giving them a huge advance and royalty rate along with complete artistic control. With a mix of apprehension and excitement, Led Zeppelin headed off to America on Christmas Eve, 1968, leaving behind their loved ones for the holidays. They were nervous about how they'd go over in the States, where the Yardbirds had never really broken through. When Zeppelin arrived in America, Page and Jones were already seasoned veterans in the music business. But for 19-year-olds Robert Plant and John Bonham, America was an eye-opener. Compared to the frozen British Midlands back home, LA was the land of milk and honey. Zeppelin soaked up the sunshine and experienced the groupie scene for the first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Led Zeppelin.
The band made their U.S. debut on December 26, 1968, in Denver. Touring with Vanilla Fudge, Zeppelin were not even mentioned on the bill. In January 1969, their debut album was released. It was panned by Rolling Stone. A female reporter from Life magazine came out to do a feature on Zeppelin. But it was killed after she said she was attacked by 2 band members. She compared Led Zeppelin to animals in a zoo. That set up a pattern. The critics hated Led Zeppelin, but the band's growing fan base was intensely loyal. They played high-profile underground venues like the Fillmore and Boston Tea Party. The audience loved them.
When we got to America, that's when there was, you know, sort of the massive reaction started towards us. You know, you could feel it. In fact, after we played this date in San Francisco, it just spread like wildfire.
FM rock radio was on the rise, and by May, the first album pushed its way to the top 10. In the spring of 1969, Zeppelin toured Scandinavia, where they performed on Danish TV.
When we got there, they said, there's a very important person we want you to meet. Looking forward to meeting you. She made a point of coming to the studio to see her. And it was Baroness von Zeppelin. And well, she was so overjoyed that we'd use the family name and all the rest of it, you know, pleasantries. And they took her out into the studio to show her around, you see, and suddenly she saw the album cover. First album cover that says the Zeppelin crashing in place. There's this almighty shrieking, and she came back in and threatening to have the lawyers stop the show. And all of this was going on right to the point of transmission.
During the rest of 1969, the group toured the U.S. extensively, fortifying their reputation as one of the best rock bands around. Zeppelin would head into the studio to cut a few tracks for their second album. Because it was made during their days off from touring, Led Zeppelin II packed the energy release of a live show. It contained Whole Lotta Love, released as a U.S. single. It became the only Zepp tune to crack the top 10.
It was quite a revolutionary turn-on, if you like. There was so many sexual connotations in the song, so much pop, and the beginnings of pomp.
You need cooling, baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you back to schooling.
With Whole Lotta Love all over American radio, Zeppelin II became the group's first #1 album. It knocked the Beatles' Abbey Road off the top of the charts. In the months that followed, the Beatles broke up, and Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and Jim Morrison died. Rock and roll was left with a huge void. Led Zeppelin was ready to fill it.
Send me a guiding light that shines across this darkened life of mine. Some soul in me, a gift of love to me, life to live for me.
It's a Sony.
Disney's Flubber has bounced into McDonald's and theaters near you for a holiday event that's gonna rock. For a limited time, our very own tempting and cheesy triple cheeseburger is back for just 99 cents. Or you can kick off your morning with a world-famous 99-cent Egg McMuffin. But you better get moving.
Go Flubber, go Flubber.
Or you'll flub up your chance to get your hands on one.
Any more paste, thick and chunky salsa? That ain't paste.
Pace uses only fresh jalapenos for that bold taste born in San Antonio.
This stuff's made in New York City.
New York City?
Pick up the pace.
1-800-COLLECT presents Max Jerome, Private Eye.
Now, where you going? Gotta call Mom.
Dial 1-800-COLLECT. It's easy and it's 10 cents a minute.
10 cents? Give me that phone.
1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening, all week long.
Live on December 13th and exclusively on U.S. satellite broadcasting, it's the first match of the Don King Only in America boxing series. Live from Pompano Beach, Florida, watch IBF Junior Bantamweight champion Johnny Tapia battle Andy Augusto. And IBF Junior Welterweight champion Cool Vince Phillips defends his title against fearless Freddie Pendleton.
Vince Phillips is not coming to play, he's coming to keep his belt, and I'm there to take it.
Plus, a WBA heavyweight elimination bout with Akinwande and Norris, and vacant IBF featherweight championship with Lizarraga and Sita. Don't miss the action December 13th at 9 p.m. on Channel 900 for the very low price of $14.95. If you subscribe to any of USSB's premium movie channels, the event is free. The Don King Only in America boxing series, only on USSB.
Mountains. They lived in a small cottage called Brawny Orr, where they began to work on material for their third album. It was the first time I really came to know Robert, Jimmy Page said. Plant and Page were both fans of Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Led Zeppelin III revealed the acoustic side of the band.
Led Zeppelin III was not one of the best sellers of the Led Zeppelin catalogue because the audience turned around and said, well, what are we supposed to do with this? Where's all our Whole Lotta Love part 2, 3, 4 and 5?
Friends, you get some silver, you get a little gold. What did you bring me, my dear friends? Keep me from the gallows pole.
When the band went back on the road, they expanded their live show to include an acoustic set. Zeppelin was now headlining arenas. The band held a press conference to mark their earning an unprecedented $100,000 for 2 shows at New York's Madison Square Garden. Offstage, the press found Robert was the most amiable. At times, he could be shy and sensitive. He was particularly affected by the violence that was beginning to surround Zeppelin's concerts. At the shows, whether by Peter Grant's own team or rowdy fans or security guards, somebody always seemed to get hurt.
The whole idea of music from the beginning of time was for people to, you know, be happy and to enjoy themselves the best they can. Unfortunately, in a lot of places that we've gone to, trying to, you know, sort of convey a little of that sort of feeling, the audiences have got the message, stood up to applaud, and got banged on the head.
With Grant guiding their fortunes, Zeppelin became rich and famous. After A Whole Lotta Love was a hit, the imposing manager demanded new terms from Atlantic Records. Among the unusual concessions was that the label would pay all the band's packaging costs, the expense of printing record sleeves and artwork. Once Zeppelin got that from Atlantic, they started making albums with spinning wheels, windows cut out of the front, and multiple covers. It was all part of Grant's way of flaunting Led Zeppelin's clout. Grant's biggest power play changed the way rock concert business had always worked. Instead of the concert promoter hiring Led Zeppelin to play and keeping most of the money himself, Grant's team forced the promoters to accept the 90-10 split in Zeppelin's favor. The agents and promoters screamed bloody murder, but they gave in. They knew 10% of Led Zeppelin was 10% of a guaranteed sellout. Led Zeppelin became one of rock's biggest money makers. John Paul Jones bought himself a new house, and John Bonham entertained himself by spending thousands on fancy cars.
The weirdest thing about my father was he was never like the blasé flash. I'm the rock star, you know. He was always the one in the background with the pair of jeans on and the sweater, and he'd walk into a Rolls-Royce dealership and they'd go, yes, can we help you? He'd go, yeah, I want to try that car over there. Do you realize how much that car is, sir? If I'd have wanted to know how much it was, I wouldn't have asked to try it out. Can I have the keys, please? Start the car up. Cheers, sir. Into gear, through the window, and said, spray it again and I'll pick it up tomorrow. And don't talk back to me ever again.
Robert Plant bought a farm in Wales and settled there with his wife Maureen and baby daughter Carmen.
Wanna tell you about the girl I love. My, she looks so fine. She's the only one that I've been dreaming of. Maybe someday she will be all mine. I wanna tell her that I love her so. I thrill with her every touch. I need to tell her she's the only one I really love.
Page indulged his growing fascination with the legendary black magician Aleister Crowley, buying his old home in Scotland. Born in 1875, Crowley was a writer, mountain climber, and self-proclaimed sorcerer. His credo was, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Page's fascination with Crowley would create wild rumors about Led Zeppelin's association with black magic. The sense that there was something dark beneath the surface of Led Zeppelin might have been exciting to teenage boys and useful to Peter Grant in his business deals, but in time it would become a burden for the members of the band. In 1971, Led Zeppelin moved into an old Victorian house called Headley Grange to record their 4th album. The band lived together while laying down the tracks to the new album that would be their greatest triumph. One night, Page played an instrumental he had crafted in his home studio as Plant sat by him scribbling lyrics. When Page was done playing the song, Robert had written most of what was to become the most requested rock and roll song in radio history, Stairway to Heaven.
It's humming and it won't go, in case you don't know. The piper's calling you to join him. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind?
People used to say, what was it like when you first played it? Was there sort of this aura, magic aura in the hall? Well, no, actually, they were all bored to tears waiting to hear something they knew, like Whole Lotta Love.
Zeppelin was a band of extremes. The gentle stairway was balanced by the explosive when the levee breaks. In spite of, or because of, his personal extremism, John Bonham was being recognized as one of rock's greatest and most influential drummers. When Led Zeppelin IV was released in November of 1971, the album's biggest controversy was over its cover.
Just purely through the fact of these bad reviews, we thought, OK, let's put an album out with no information on it whatsoever. And that'll be a statement to the critics. Of course, that went right over their heads, let me tell you.
No matter what you called the album, Runes, Four Symbols, or Zoso, with Led Zeppelin IV, the band reached a creative apex. The record would eventually, in 1972, Robert and Maureen Plant's second child was born, a boy named Carrick. Robert was a student of ancient history of Wales and England, and he had given his son the name of a Celtic hero. When Led Zeppelin arrived in America to start their 1973 tour, their latest effort, Houses of the Holy, was already sitting on top of the charts. The single, Jamaica, even found Led Zeppelin dabbling in reggae.
Jamaica was, it's the old joke, isn't it? My wife went on holiday this year, on her own, Jamaica. No, she went on her own accord. It's like, but all the Americans go, I really like Dire Maker.
The 73 tour would be Zeppelin's greatest undertaking yet. Thanks to their great financial clout, the band could afford their own plane, a customized 727 dubbed the Starship. Led Zeppelin took home more money than any group before them.
Dancing days are here again. Summer evenings grow. I got my flower, I got my power. I got a woman.
The band's home away from home was Los Angeles. The Continental Hyatt House was rechristened the Riot House when Zeppelin checked in. The band would hold court in their rooms as the hallways and lobbies teemed with reporters, groupies, and fans. Stories of the group riding motorcycles down the corridors were not uncommon. Led Zeppelin were rock's dark gods. John Bonham was fast earning a reputation with his wild antics and practical jokes. At his 25th birthday party, he got into a cake-throwing match with George Harrison and then tossed the former Beatle into the swimming pool.
In Los Angeles, we played after the Forum. He drove back from the Forum. He bought a car that day, I think, a new Trans Am, and he was doing, I think it was 90 down Sunset Strip, which is like inconceivable. And sure enough, like two sheriff's patrol cars come screaming out and pulled into the hall. They all ran out with their hands on their guns and all that. And he just got out and said, oh, just played this blinding gig at the Forum. I've got this new car. He said, you should see what this baby can do. And he like, got out, opened it. All the cops were like this. He got out, opened the hood. He said, look at all this stuff. Look at that. And like within minutes, they're all like looking under the hood, like talking about brake horsepower and stuff like that. I mean, it's just like, and the end of it, okay, yeah, well, watch yourself next time. Take care. Hey, well, do you want some tickets?
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. John said the way you swing gonna make you burn, gonna make you sting.
The final shows for the tour in New York were filmed for a movie. The band was tired and not in top form. When they returned to their hotel, they realized that they had been robbed of nearly $200,000. It looked like an inside job, which hyped up the paranoia that always followed the group and their inner circle. Accusations flew, recriminations festered. They returned home for a rest. 2 years would go by before Led Zeppelin would re-emerge. In the interim, they formed their own record label, Swan Song, and recorded a double album called Physical Graffiti. The hypnotic track Kashmir explored the band's fascination with the music of Morocco. Zeppelin returned to the road in 1975. The tour was not without incident. Jimmy Page broke his finger, which affected his playing. It was also around this time that heroin began working its way into his routine. John Bonham was drinking heavily, and alcohol fueled his aggressiveness. If the pressure inside the band was turning ugly, the public didn't see it. Led Zeppelin was more popular than ever. The group sold out 3 concerts at Earl's Court, 51,000 tickets in just 2 hours. After the Earl's Court show, Zeppelin was taking a break from the road when disaster struck. While on vacation in Greece, Robert Plant and his family were seriously injured in a car crash. Fans spread rumors of karmic retribution for Jimmy Page's black magic, or Peter Grant's two-fisted approach to business, or Zeppelin's dark aura. A disheartened Page said, "I don't worship the devil, but magic does intrigue me." Robert Plant did not have the luxury of such superstition. He was stretched out in bed, unable to walk. The fans didn't know it, but the future of Led Zeppelin was in doubt.
Tomorrow, he played guitar so well, people said he was God. And that was before Cream, Derek and the Dominoes, and his solo career. The premiere of the Eric Clapton story, followed by Elton John. VH1 Legends Week, presented by AT&T, tomorrow at 9, 8 Central.
How do you stop a rhino from charging? How?
Travel with Joseph Van Oss Photo Safari to Kenya's land of the Maasai.
How do you stop a rhino from charging?
And you'll see a culture and a wildlife like no other on earth.
How do you stop a rhino from charging?
But bring your Visa card.
How do you stop a rhino from charging? Give it an American Express card.
Because this photo safari doesn't take American Express.
Wait till they hear this in Nairobi.
Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Don't miss this year's Magic Holiday Special, brought to you by Old Navy, starring Magic, Morgan Fairchild,
Magic, this has much more charm than Aspen.
Carrie Donovan.
Imagine, gifts under $20.
The Smothers Brothers.
What's wrong, Tom? Are you still cold?
I always shiver when I see Morgan Fairchild. And a special guest appearance by Ben Vereen.
It's a very Magic Holiday Special.
Magic, this is for you.
Who doesn't love a gift?
Happy holidays, everyone. Don't miss it. Great gifts under $20.
How much butter does it take for mouth-watering mashed potatoes? None. Use Swanson broth instead. Rich, golden Swanson chicken broth adds loads of flavor, and it's 99% fat-free. Put in Swanson broth instead of butter for delicious mashed potatoes that are light, fluffy, and low in fat. And now Swanson broth also comes in a resealable carton, so adding flavor without adding fat's a snap. Recipe after recipe, Swanson broth, when all you want to add is flavor.
Your child has a fever, and you have to take her temperature where? The new Braun Thermoscan EZ takes her temperature here, accurately, in just 1 second. Doctors, mothers, even kids can agree. Braun Thermoscan.
I've been to the edge, they've been to the edge. Hey, your Aunt Zelda's been to the edge pizza. So where have you been? Just ask The Edge Works, where 6 toppings go right to the edge of a thin, crispy crust. So you're only $8.99 away from 16 pieces of pure Polk gratuitous toppings. Come on, have you been to the edge?
You can catch 1, catch 2, catch 3 or 4. But new Huggies Supreme diapers could catch even more. Only Huggies have new waist leak barriers at the front and back, plus leak guards at the legs designed to provide all-around protection from even the messiest of leaks. So for leakage protection anytime, anywhere, choose Huggies Supreme, the ultimate in care.
After Robert Plant's 1975 car accident, a doctor in London told him he wouldn't walk for at least 6 months. Robert had injured his ankle so badly, he was unsure if he would ever be able to perform again. Robert tried playing one show, but had to sit on a stool. He knew he was a long way from performing, as he had in the past. This had been the longest, most pensive period in my life, Plant said. The band canceled their remaining tour dates and decided to head into the studio. Recorded in just 18 days and released in April 1976, Presence reached #1 without the benefit of a tour or even a picture of the band. The album's artwork featured a mysterious black obelisk.
This is called The Song Remains the Same.
With Plant out of commission, the band decided to put out their concert film, The Song Remains the Same. Released 3 years after it was shot, the band looked oddly out of date in the summer of punk. The critics called it self-indulgent, but fans packed midnight showings. They were just happy to get a glimpse of Zeppelin.
It's rather frustrating spending, now it's a total of about 8.5 years of playing on stage. And I think the closest we've ever got of seeing ourselves is having a sly peep at the video screen at Earl's Court. You know? That was the initial, idea. And from there on, we just wanted to capture one moment in time, you know?
Each member of the band was featured in a fantasy segment designed to give insight into their personality. Bonzo was a race car driver, Plant a sword-wielding knight, Jones an 18th century masked marauder, Page a hooded mountaineer, and true to his reputation, Peter Grant played a gun-toting gangster.
The Goldfish Bowl was already in position and we were inside it because the thing had got so big. There was a part of my being, and there still is and always will be, that knows that we went up some unbelievable peaks. I mean, mentally and musically. And we'd been through a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot of changes emotionally and God knows what else that don't happen to people in one lifetime.
In 1977, after a 2-year absence, Led Zeppelin returned to the road. This time around, there were very few triumphs. Plant was still hampered by his injury, and Bonham's drinking turned him into Mr. Hyde. In Chicago, he destroyed his hotel room and tossed the TV out the window, causing $5,000 in damage. Jimmy Page was frail and bone-thin from heroin use. The enthusiastic fans couldn't tell a bad Zeppelin show from a good one. They just wanted to stand on their chairs and pay homage to their heroes. When the band arrived in Florida, Robert's wife Maureen brought their 2 children over to spend some time at Disney World. "We called him Baby Austin after the Bionic Man," said Robert of his 5-year-old Carrick. But things soon turned ugly. In Tampa, Zeppelin postponed a show due to rain, and the fans rioted. In Oakland, a nasty scene erupted backstage between Zeppelin's entourage and one of promoter Bill Graham's people. Peter Grant's son was slapped by a security guard for attempting to remove a dressing room sign. When Grant heard that his son had been hit, he had Graham's employee brought back to his trailer. By the time Grant and Bonzo were through, the trailer was awash with blood. Graham called the cops. Bonham and Grant were charged with assault and led away to jail. Already reeling from the incident in Oakland, Robert Plant received a call from his wife that would change him forever. His 5-year-old son, Carrick, was dead. Carrick Plant had come down with a viral infection and his temperature rose dramatically. By the time he reached the hospital, it was too late. Robert and his family were heartbroken. Zeppelin was devastated and canceled the rest of their tour. They went on hiatus amidst rumors of a breakup. Plant retreated to his farm and spent most of the next year in seclusion. 16 months after the death of his son, Robert felt he was ready to go back to work. The band began recording again in late 1978. The sessions for In Through the Outdoor were more subdued than usual. Jimmy Page and John Bonham were both struggling with dependencies. John Paul Jones oversaw most of the recording.
Robert and I just got to the rehearsals on time and nobody else turned up for days sometimes, and so we were just sort of, well, we're here, we paid for the room, we might as well write something. And we recorded In Through the Outdoor mainly in the dark in Sweden.
ballad, All My Love, was an outpouring of emotion from Plant to his lost child. Out of their hardships, an older and wiser Led Zeppelin was beginning to emerge.
Greatest concert attraction is back. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rolling Stones, live in your home on pay-per-view. Bridges to Babylon World Tour. Critics say the rock show of the year.
The Stones like you've never seen them. The Stones like you've never heard them before.
December 12th, the Rolling Stones, live on pay-per-view.
Rolling Stones all over your living room.
Call your local cable operator or satellite provider to order this event.
Legends Week is presented by AT&T. It's all within your reach. And sponsored by Sony. Go where the music takes you with Sony portable music products.
The AT&T One Rate plan has made long-distance prices simple. Whoa. Calls from home, a one low rate to anybody in America, anytime.
What about those 10321 ads that say I could save big over AT&T?
Most calls would cost less with AT&T One Rate.
Cost less?
Right.
I feel so used.
Hey, don't beat yourself up.
What about the big savings with 10321?
Forget it if your calls aren't over 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
He's taking it really bad. No games. The AT&T One Rate plan.
Your toothbrush has limitations. It can clean the surfaces of your teeth, but it may not penetrate the spaces between them where germs breed. Listerine can. Listerine is the one brand, the only brand, clinically proven to flow into the tiny spaces between teeth, to kill germs and help prevent the gum disease gingivitis. Liquidate germs your toothbrush may miss with Listerine. Don't let a good mouth go bad.
Bryan Adams, MTV Unplugged, the new album.
Got my first real six-string, bought it at the 5 and dime, cuts like a knife.
All of Bryan's hit songs compellingly performed, as you've never heard them before. Includes the new hit single, Back to You.
Coming soon. Yeah, I'm coming back to you.
Polapulse, a kind of pocket light thing from Polaroid.
On December 19th, collide with destiny.
Please help me!
I won't let go. From the director of T2 and True Lies.
This is it!
Titanic, rated PG-13, starts Friday, December 19th.
To touch, to hold, to pull me through. Send me a guiding light that shines across this darkened life of mine. Some soul in me, a gift of love to me, life to live for me.
Join U.S. Satellite Broadcasting for a trip to the stars. Destination Planet Hollywood. If you love stargazing, this is the place to be, because USSB is taking you right to the heart of the gala grand openings of Planet Hollywoods around the world. You don't even need a telescope. All you need is a digital satellite system and USSB. So get ready to do some serious stargazing. US Satellite Broadcasting. You've never seen movies like this.
You're watching VH1 Legends Week, presented by AT&T.
The band started rehearsing at Jimmy Page's home. Bonzo was his usual roaring self. One night he passed out after a long day of drinking. When John Paul Jones checked on Bonham the next day, he didn't wake up. At the age of 32, John Bonham was dead. So was Led Zeppelin. The band's response to Bonham's death was unanimous. Bonzo was irreplaceable. Page, Plant, and Jones announced that Led Zeppelin would not continue.
He was just a genuine, normal type of guy that was in, you know, one of the biggest rock and roll bands in the world. I mean, his best friends in England were all farmers. We'd be talking in the bar, talking about sheep, you know, and like cattle. And what's the price of a heifer nowadays, you know? I don't know. That's the way it was.
Then, as it was, then again it will be. Though the course may change sometimes, rivers always reach the sea.
It was a difficult time for the surviving members. Page, Plant, and Jones pondered why so much hardship had been bestowed on them. It was particularly hard on Jimmy Page, who had put Led Zeppelin together and guided its journey. He abandoned his music and withdrew from the spotlight.
I lost a very dear friend, and if I looked at the guitar, it would just remind me of a dear friend I just lost, so consequently I didn't have a guitar around for quite a while.
In 1982, Page produced Coda, a collection of Zeppelin outtakes and leftovers. The following year, Eric Clapton coaxed him into picking up his guitar again and reuniting with former Yardbirds guitarist Jeff Beck at the Arms concert for multiple sclerosis. For the audience, his instrumental version of Stairway to Heaven was a stirring reminder of how powerful Zeppelin once was. For Plant, the death of another loved one was difficult to bear. He had been mates with Bonham since they were teenagers, playing in bands for beer money. He had been the one who suggested to Jimmy Page that Bonham join Led Zeppelin. Robert was afraid that it would be difficult to go out on his own because of his strong identity with Zeppelin. But in 1982, Robert began a successful solo career. He did not want to trade on his past, and for a long time he would not perform Zeppelin hits in concert. Outside the confines of the band, his friendship with Page deepened. They had experiences in common no one else could understand. They often guest starred on each other's projects. Eventually, Robert became more comfortable with Led Zeppelin's legacy, but he remained adamant about moving his music forward. The man who came through most unscathed from the Led Zeppelin experience was John Paul Jones. He continued to produce, score soundtracks, and work on arrangements for artists such as Peter Gabriel, Paul McCartney, and R.E.M. In late '97, Jones began work on his first solo album.
It was great because it was true Zeppelin in some respects. But I mean, Jimmy's guitar was out of tune. It was handed to him straight out of his guitar case. It was like real shambles again. And I looked across at him and I went, oh no. Why couldn't he get it right in front of 1.5 billion people?
The Zeppelin reunions in the 80s, a Live 8 appearance, and a set for Atlantic Records' 40th anniversary were shaky at best. Finally, in 1994, Plant and Page found a new way to work together. They teamed up to record No Quarter, an album that mixed new material with reworked versions of Zeppelin classics. The highly successful TV show and world tour that followed were a testament to the public's insatiable appetite for the magic of the Page-Plant team.
Oh, baby, the rainbow's in.
Plant and Page were healthy and happy. As the years had passed, the pain they had known was overshadowed by pride in what they had created. They bore their scars, and their years gracefully, even with joy. In 1995, Led Zeppelin were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Later that year, Peter Grant died in England after years of health problems. The hard-hitting manager had walked away from the music business when John Bonham died. For all his toughness, when Led Zeppelin ended, Grant's heart was broken. In 1997, Atlantic Records released a live Led Zeppelin album called BBC Sessions. It was a startling reminder of the band's power in front of an audience. The legacy of Led Zeppelin is immense. Rock bands from Guns N' Roses to the Beastie Boys to Nirvana have showed Zeppelin's influence. They changed the way the business of rock and roll was conducted, and they changed the way music sounded. Led Zeppelin began with great ambitions and accomplished more than they'd ever dreamed.